What? I know, I was at the same church. Hello, how you doing?
It's crazy old. Thanks. Let's go get that. What's it look like?
I start running through the door, wow.
No, between you and him, I'm gonna get shot. What time? It's different than this. You guys didn't hear. Hey, Marty, pick up a chair and sit next to your phone.
27 Cayuga Court. Yeah.
Right. Please, can we stand for the pledge, please?
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody get a chance to audit the bills?
Yes, we reviewed the bills and found them to be paid.
Okay. I'm gonna open the public comment period. If it's related to the public hearing in the water district, please wait till we have the public hearing in the water district. If it's something on our agenda, just please wait. But if you have something that you'd like to talk about outside of what we already have on our agenda, now's your opportunity. All right, seeing none, I'll move on. We have an exact time here. 7:02, I'm going to open the public hearing on the water district. This is just for the water district, okay? This has nothing to do with the report that came out on PLFAs from the federal and state. It has nothing to do with that. This is simply to hear your concerns about the creation of a water district. We'd like to hear what you have to say, but we don't want to get into a debate about it tonight. We will keep the public hearing open. There's going to be another meeting on the 18th where you can talk about the PLFA problems. And after that, we'll probably have more information. When we resume our public hearing, we can talk about anything that you learned at that. But tonight, please just keep it directed towards the creation of a water district. If you've signed up to has your name, we'll go in order as you signed.
Okay.
Yes.
When I call your name, can you just please go to the podium? Mary Ann Kitchie? No speaking? Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. We have a presentation tonight, and
Okay.
maybe you'll have questions after that.
I was getting disappointed I wasn't going to get the call tonight. You know, so my name's Ron LaBerge, LaBerge Engineering. We put together the preliminary engineering report for the proposed water district number 2. Some of you were at the informational meeting last year where we talked about a much larger area. This has been pared down to what was now being proposed as the water district. And as Supervisor said, tonight is really to hear from interested parties in the water district. This is a required hearing under the town law, and it is here for you to inform these folks about your opinions on the district. So this is the proposed district. And just to orient everybody, up here Snyder's Corners Road. This is Route 66. Here's Algonquin Middle School. Here's Algonquin Estates. And over here, Liberty Lane. So basically, that is a proposed district. All the properties within the district can be served. Let's see. Oh, by the way, this is White Church Road. There you go. So that's the general area of the district itself. So just a very brief timeline of what's happened, because not everybody was at the last meeting. So back in December of 21, the Burge Group was retained to prepare an engineering report or a map planner report, looking at the potential of how best to service this area and to how in other areas further towards Sand Lake. That was finished in March of 22. Shortly after that, there was a request for congressional identity. I forgot the exact name, but they were looking for, and the town made application to Senator Schumer as well as at that time Congressman Delgado. July was the informational meeting where we talked about where things stood at that time. September, the departmental review process was completed, the secret process. The town applied for a New York State Water Infrastructure Grant called NIWIA. Also applied for a bipartisan infrastructure law grant, that's the bill grant, and also requested and obtained county assistance. So in November, there was a grant awarded in the amount of $3,300,000 through the NIWIA program. That's basically 60% of the project cost. The agreement for $600,000 assistance from the county was submitted in February of 2023. March, an additional $670,000 was awarded to the project from the bipartisan infrastructure law. And the request for $1 million of congressional assistance from Senators Schumer, Gillibrand, and Stefanik was made again, obviously because your congressperson changed. And then in April, the town was informed that both the senators and the congresswoman have added this project to their list of projects to be funded in the upcoming federal budget. That's October of this year. So the reason for the proposed district, all started with the PLFOA issue, the Algonquin School, and at that time 13 other wells. That is why the town said, hey, we got to see if there's anything we can do here to help the folks out in the area. A new water supply required rather than groundwater source. So the water source for the proposed district is the city of Troy. And that water comes from Troy through Brunswick, and then through what is Poston-Kill Water District number 1, and I'll come into Water District number 2. Major system components, about 20,000 feet of water main, and these are approximate numbers. They'll be finalized if it moves to final design. 30 hydrants with basically 600-foot spacings, mainline valves, water services, and water meters, and of course restoration from the construction of the water system. So the project cost, which is what most people have been concerned about, is $5.55 million. And this just breaks it down. Generally, construction is almost $3.6 million. We have a very large contingency number of $1.2 million, which is 33%. We carry those numbers at high because of the somewhat shifting market in terms of pricing. Technical mapping, engineering, and construction observation. So, excuse me. So this is the current project funding that's in place right now. I kind of went through the litany with the earlier, but so the $5.5 million We have 60% of that is from a NIWE, will be paid through a NIWE grant of $3.3 million. The bill money, the bipartisan infrastructure money is $670,000. The county has agreed to contribute $600,000. So the local fund is $1,000. So that's the current funding. And I want to add this potential funding because I'll go back in a second. This current funding did not include the congressional earmark money. It's not set yet. That doesn't happen until October. And so we're presenting the numbers without that in this slide. Assuming that in October it does reach federal budget, this is the potential funding. So what happens is we have, let me let it show up very well, I'm sorry. The congressional funding of $2 million. The NIWE grant actually gets reduced because of the way the state formula for that. The bill money remains the same, the county contribution remains the same, but the local financing drops to just $150,000, assuming that the congressional earmark comes through. So it's a significant change. So as far as annual user costs, there's three basic components. One is the debt service payment, repaying the loan, whatever that may be, the 900 or the 146. Metered water use, what the actual use is that goes through your meter in your house, and operation and maintenance. So I'll just go through each of those relatively briefly. So again, I'm looking at the current number there. We need to borrow $952,000. And we right now are assuming an interest rate of 6% over 30 years, resulting in annual payment of $69,000 a year for the district. There's 171 benefit units in the district, and a benefit unit is basically equal to a house. So if you're a single family resident house, you're one benefit unit. So the cost per benefit unit under the current funding available is $405. And that's just for the debt service, it's not the complete package at that point. And so with the potential funding and the congressional earmark, that number drops to $64. And again, actually, hard to see the lights on, but I know that there was a handout when we walked in the door, and hopefully we had it, that those numbers are presented on that sheet for you. So it's a significant difference if the congressional earmark winds up in the budget. As far as metered use, the cost for water is $5.75 per 1,000 gallons. That's what water district number 1 pays, and the rates are going to be the same. And of that $5.75, $5 is actually the cost of water the town pays, and that's $4 to Troy right now, and $1 to Brunswick get paid through their system. The other 75 cents goes towards operation and maintenance of the system. So we use a relatively high residential water use for a typical residence, 73,000 gallons a year. That's 200 gallons a day, just to put it in perspective. And if you use that much water, your annual cost would be $420. So, excuse me. So obviously, if that's probably a house of 4 or 5 people. If you're one people, it'd be significantly less. Checking for swimming pools and things of that nature. And then operation and maintenance. So there's the cost to operate District 2 right now is estimated at $31,500. As I mentioned in the previous slide, some of your metered rate goes towards towards O&M, $7,500. So the remainder to be raised by unit charges is $4,500. Again, with 171 benefit units, so the O&M cost per home, single family home, is $140. So this is basically just a summary. And again, this is all presented on that handout. So if you didn't get one, make sure you pick one up on the way out. With the current funding, the total in cost is estimated at $965. If congressional funds take it to the budget, that dropped to $620 a year. The other cost is one-time cost because the project will bring a water service line from the water main up to your property line. And there'll be a curb stop there. Each property owner's responsibility to get from that curb stop to their home. So you're gonna have a one-time cost to basically extend the service lateral from the street to your home. And that's done by the homeowner, that's not part of the project. And just brief schedule, assuming the district, we're hoping to have construction completed by the end of next year. Depending on if the town board authorizes before the next few months. All the design and everything can be done certainly this year, permitting over the winter for spring start. And that is a very brief description of the district and the proposed financial aspects. Then I'm not sure how you want to do questions.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. Okay,
Terry?
Yes,
please come to the podium.
pardon?
Please come to our podium. Right here.
Oh, okay.
I get my own.
My name is Terry Jack Angelo, kind of 5 Summit Drive. Foremost, you're proposing this, but we don't have actual numbers, final numbers out. You're gonna vote on to the citizens to vote on, because $1,000 a year is quite an expense for some people. And why is it taking so long? Has it taken so long to get to this point? It's over 2 years, and I don't see anyone from the county here to answer any questions. And I'm just, there's a lot of things there's a lot of loose ends. It's like everything else. There's not all the information. So these are things I'd like to know about. That's all.
Dominic?
Thank you. First, I'll thank the town board for doing their due diligence and putting this project at least 80% together at this point. I think it's important to have a known alternative to well water. Problem with pollution that we have is everywhere, every place. And I think over the decades, the health constraints are going to be such that the limits are going to get lower and lower. And anyway, your well won't, even if it's clean today, it may not be clean tomorrow. So I'll begin with that. I did go through the report in quite some detail. I was the supervisor as we constructed District Number 1. I learned an awful lot of lessons. And I think one of the most important lessons is to have costs that are realistic, that are not neither overestimated or underestimated. Looking through the proposal, I think several of the items are overestimated in terms of the cost. There are opportunities for cost savings with using different materials. I think one of the biggest mistakes, it wasn't a mistake, it was a decision, was to put a curb stop at every single property, whether or not it had any development plans at all. That was very altruistic, if you will, as a gift to the property. But the reality is we have curb stops sitting out there for 10 years that haven't been touched, and they may not be touched, and they may be in the wrong place when somebody eventually builds. So we look at the cost that's involved with that versus the benefit of getting people to support the project. You really have to be careful about overestimating the number of curb stops that are going to be put in. I was a little confused with what the language in the report used services versus corp stops. 2 stops to a water service, one that goes against the main pipe and one that's the curb stop where you hook into as a homeowner. And I was unsure whether or not the discussion was a proposal to actually hook up homes, because it said residential services. And I think it got clarified tonight, so it should be done. I think the estimate of cost for meters is very high. And the other thing I would say is, you shouldn't buy meters until they're ready to be installed. I think the price that's in the report is $1,500 per meter or $100 per meter. I don't recall exactly, but that's like 4 times what we were actually paying for meters 4 years ago. So, and there may be an opportunity to lock in prices ahead of time with some of the suppliers. So I think that's important. I think it's very important that no matter what the cost of the project eventually becomes, that the project be put out to a public vote, ensure that there's adequate support within the community for the water district, but don't put that vote up until the cost, particularly the debt service cost and the O&M is significantly clarified. I don't think it's going to be $140 a household. I think there's a lot of places to save money between the 2 water districts. You know, the first water district, we think about it as big or tiny relative to other water districts in the county. It certainly can be served by the same personnel, the same bookkeepers, the same finance, the same water charges wherever she went, and that. So I think it's a good outline. It comes down to cost, and yes or no, except for me, you know, I can look at this piece of paper, one side of the paper is a no, the other side of the paper is a clear yes. So I think that's why it's so important to get those costs clarified. I hate to put it this way, we've been drinking that water for 30, 40 years. 6 months difference in this project is not going to be a lifetime of difference. It's going to be a difference. It's not a make or break. One of the things that I think that you can't describe to people is once the project moves forward, construction is really fast. The entire District 1 completed in less than a year. We turned the water on and we were serving customers within a year of start. Give or take a few little idiosyncrasies about that district. We'll go really fast. It's so important to make sure everything's in place. So my other question, and I'm sorry to belabor this, but I hope there's coordination with the Environmental Facilities Corporation. They, in a way, own the other district. Their bonds that the other district was financed with, they have a duty to their bondholders, and nothing we can do with this district can negatively impact those bondholders. I know it looks like it won't, but you need to get signed up. So the other question I have with what's been granted so far in terms of money, are there letters of intent to like the state money, the what do you call it, Water Infrastructure Improvement Grant? Is there a letter of intent that we're guarantee this money if we move forward. So that's all signed and set
We
up.
got
So,
deadlines, we've got all our deadlines.
well, I'm not saying deadlines, I'm saying is there a letter from whoever the financing agency is, says, congratulations, you got this money? Because one of the little secrets about District 1 is 6 months into the project, I got a nice letter from Rural Resources said they're not gonna finance the project anymore. I said, whoa, here's your letter saying you are, so you can't pull out. And of course, we made a big deal about it. They said, yeah, I guess we are gonna finance it. So I would be cautious in that regard because it does change the amount that people will pay significantly. So that's what I have to say. I wish you luck. I've heard you can keep the hearing open. I think as funding sources become definite, that's a good time to hold another public session. Thank you.
Paul?
My name is Paul Plant. Like Mr. LeBears, I am a licensed engineer. I've been in this town for over 70 years. And as a Vietnam veteran, I have a zero tolerance for being fed a bunch of crap, which is what we're having here. Going to Mr. LeBears' first slide, he put in there, interested people can be heard. Does anybody in here have a clue as to what you're being heard about? What this hearing is really about, what law governs this hearing? This hearing is governed by town law, and I put some copies over there and quoted out 3 things. 1, you people are here supposedly to present evidence. Present evidence, that's what the law says. Regardless of what these people say, you're to present evidence on 3 things. 1, is the district in the public's interest? The answer to which is no. 2, is everybody in the district going to benefit from the district? And the answer to that is no, because I'm not going to benefit. I'm going to be driven out of my property. I'm a disabled veteran on a fixed income, and I'm going to be driven off my thing. Is there anybody who should be benefited who is not in the district? That's what the hearing by law is supposed to be about. None of these people were straight with you, because the truth of the matter is they've already made the decision. This is a flim-flam. Just another flim-flam, post-and-kill flim-flam. Now, another cost that Mr. LeBears neglected. If you look at the town law, if the district is formed, not only are we responsible for all the stuff he said, but then the cost of engineering shifts over to us, the people in that district. So then we got to reimburse the town board. And it's in the law. Anybody that wants to check on their phones, just town law, Articles 12A. The law isn't written for gentlemen like Mr. Gilchrist down there. The law is written for us. You don't need some JD from Harvard to understand the law, because when you need a JD from Harvard to understand the law is crap. Law is written for somebody with a high school. It's comprehensible. So it really, when I come to this town where I've lived for over 70 years and have to listen to Mr. LeBears feeding us horse crap. Horse crap. That is an engineering term, by the way, people. That's a professional engineering term. I use it a lot. I got a shorter version, but I'll stick with horse crap right now. So why do we have PFOA in our water in the first place? And here, this brings up a thing. We hear from Mr. LeBears about how our wells, and we were told this 27 September 2021, told this by Bob Brunette, Your wells are the problem. Your wells caused this to happen. Well, okay. Tom Reservoir is a surface water body. So since PFOA is everywhere and it's in our groundwater, why wouldn't it be in the Tom Reservoir? And if you do some follow the science, like these people like to say, you follow the science, you will find that surface water bodies, Tom Reservoir, far more susceptible to PFAS contamination than our groundwater supplies. Now, I got a well that I went out and divined for back in 1971. Was there when Paul Wayno drilled it. I saw the strap was going through. I had no problems with that water until the Post and Kill transfer station. And I've got a figure here that.
We limited to 3 minutes.
Well, you didn't limit nobody else.
We limited everybody.
You didn't say.
Paul, please, we'll give you another chance at the end of the meeting, but.
No, I've had my say. People, you're being flim-flam. You want to be flim-flam, go along with these people. I personally am disgusted by them, but hey, that's just me. Have a good night, everybody. Good night.
Greg,
Greg Tadlock, 28 Kite Report. Good evening, Supervisor Hammond and members of the town board. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to submit public comments tonight on Water District Number 2. My comments this evening will be on behalf of concerned citizens to clean drinking water, the ad hoc group of residents who live in the vicinity of our Rockland Middle School. I will note that my comments are limited to the members of our group that are within the water district. Other members, both inside and outside the group, may choose to speak tonight on their own as my eye. If I go off script, I will tell you I'm not speaking to them, they're speaking to me. First, we believe clean water is important. January 1st, 2022, the state constitution was changed that says citizens in New York are entitled to clean water. So we believe that the proposed water system is a step in that direction. We also believe that clean water should be affordable. At the moment, and again, I'm a little bit on the fly because I prepared these before the presentation tonight. So I'll try to address that. The total cost of the projects with the funding offsets is still to be looked at least by us. I mean, we saw it for the first time, the new numbers tonight. So in certain instances, it's a mystery until we can get in to look at those. The overhead does seem excessive. The interest payments, if I did it correctly, the interest payments over 3 years exceeds the cost of the town will incur. Given the DEC results at the middle school, and not getting in, I'm not critiquing that at all, but I mean, at least it's important because that's where it started. You know, the report indicates multiple sources of contamination, of self-contamination. It's not a single source. So the rational conclusion we've come to is that, you know, anybody with a well or septic system is susceptible to having contamination. And in our opinion, that makes it a town issue. It's not just an Algonquin issue. And the Water District Number 2 really only focuses on us at the moment. And then the only way to find out your house is contaminated is to pay $350 or more for free testing. And again, this gets into whether or not we're going to make a decision to connect to the water district. We think that there should be more guidance from government officials, from you, county, the state, as to how susceptible households are to being contaminated. Now, it's also our understanding that there is approximately $280,000 of COVID money that still resides with the town. The question is, why could that be used as part of the offset for Water District Number 2? Again, irrespective of the $2 million that we're hoping to get from our congressional and Senate folks. And then finally, my last point is we strongly believe that the same process used for Water District Number 1 should be used here. That is, the decision to establish the water district really should be left to the homeowners in Water District 2 and not a decision by the town board. The homeowners are going to be paying for this. They'll decide whether or not to hook up. If you don't hook up, you're still going to pay a fee anyway. So we think this should be our decision, not the town board. reports. We urge you to be consistent with how it was previously done. And that concludes my comments. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Martin Gibbons? You're, okay. So there's a signature that I can't read, but I think they're from Glenmont. Okay, we're gonna move on. Judy Dorr. Ed Dorr.
No.
Okay. David Gaskell. No. Susan, do you have anything for this? Okay. Susan LaCarcy?
No.
Marty Gibbons?
My name's Mark Gibbons. I've lived in the town my entire life. I've looked at the proposals that the water district is bringing up. It was also brought to my attention that the Algonquin School District put in a water system comparable to the one that was put in over my father's house. My father's house is on 351 and 66. The water district ends on the other side of 351. So when you talk about water taps and everything like that, I'd have to go under the highway. It's one of the most polluted wells in the town. And when I was told by the people that put the water system in, it's only provisional. So when I also looked at this, the original proposal was this was supposed to go up either Weatherwax Road, Route 66. So I don't know where it's proposed to go now.
66.
Okay. Also, when I talked about the contracts that were going to go out, town was going to look for the most reasonable contract. Contractor that we used for the last district did shoddy work. The people that were there to supervise their work apparently didn't do that because they put water connections through culvert pipes. And I think this needs to be looked at this situation. The other thing, and I really don't want to bring it up on this time, but the also proposed district for the dog kennels is put up, and that is outside the water district too. There's 7 parts per million in that water. So therefore, they're going to have to put a water system in over there also. Am I correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one else on this list.
Well, thank you, everyone. As I said earlier, we're going to keep the public hearing open. This is just the first start. We wanted to start the process. I think everyone on the board is aware that our estimates are high. This is the worst case scenario we're putting forward. We didn't want to come in with bare bone numbers and then 6 months down the road, come back to you and say, wow, we underestimated. Now we're going to have to come back with more money. This isn't a finished project. We still have memorandums out there, and but we're aware that some of our numbers are high here. But I'd rather give you numbers that are high than numbers that are too low. So I don't think there's a lot of disagreement with what some of the people said here tonight. I do take issue with a few things that were said, but that's what public comments are for. So I thank everyone for their comments. Hearing no one else, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Bobby, for tonight.
Yeah, we'll note for the record that the public hearing will remain open and just adjourn this evening.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That brings us to the clerk's minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 15.
Do I have a second? All in favor? All opposed?
Sorry. Motion to April 27th.
Public comment?
Quick break. right here, if anybody wants to leave, then we'll resume when it's just a little bit quieter.
You're gonna put that up on the website, this presentation, I don't know, maybe. Just keep that.
That I'm gonna put it up.
For those who are interested, we're gonna post these on the website as well, so.
They live on, they
Our special. Do we have anyone from the planning board tonight?
So basically,
Excuse me, can you come to the podium, please?
The planning board approved 3 plots, subdivisions last Tuesday. One is a minor subdivision of Marty and Pamela Hoyt. The other was for April Dennis, and that's a minor subdivision. And then Kim Bowman is a minor subdivision at McKinley Way. The records, this should show on your records.
Thank you. Zoning board? Is there anyone from the zoning board, please?
Johnny, been putting.
We've had nothing on the agenda for several months, so we have to have anything, but I just wanted to ask, your consideration. I just noticed another municipality, when they have, an application come in, let's say someone who's putting a addition on their house and they get denied. Is there a way we can just go right from that denial, rather than going through the first meeting where we say we're gonna have a public hearing, just automatically set the person up for a public hearing at the next meeting, given, as long as they're within, enough time for notice. So let's say they have like a deadline 15 days before the meeting. And if you bring your notice of denial to the office, we would just schedule a public hearing for the next meeting, and that would save between 15 and 45 days off an application.
Well, if you're asking me about it, I approve. Anything to speed it up.
Is that a possibility? Because I thought Lauren said the chairman could actually call a public hearing or something like that. I'm not sure.
That's my understanding.
That can get reviewed, and we'll review that with clients. One procedure, the board members have not even had the opportunity yet to review the application materials. And the big issue regarding holding the public hearing is that all the information needed to decide is there. It's a complete application.
Well, I think have to be a very small review process at the time of the application, but most applications are fairly cut and dry on the zoning board side as far as area variance. As long as all of the code deficiencies are listed and met, it's really not that.
Well, correct, but that procedure would then, again, just for consideration by your board and council, that procedure would then be uniform and apply to all variance applications.
Yeah.
So whether it's a standard or considered to be very straightforward one, or one that's a little bit more complicated, would be practice and procedure of the board. So just some things to think about.
Yeah.
You can have that procedure.
I'm just putting it out there because it's a way to save time. I just saw it. Thanks.
Okay, fire company, we have your report. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, library?
Susan Calicut, member of the Board of Trustees, Kirsten Kell Library. The library continues to be the center of activity for the town. We have regular story time Fridays, Lego Club on Wednesdays, monthly book club, and coming up Saturday, May 13th, the do-it-yourself paper flower bouquet and Mother's Day cards for all of you who have neglected to do so. On Monday, May 22nd, monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees at 7:30, to which the public is always invited. Wednesday, May 24th, from 6 to 7, a do-it-yourself diamond art bookmarks, making mandala design corner bookmarks. I don't know what any of those words mean. Wednesday, I don't do crafts, I'm sure it's great. I have nothing. Wednesday, May 31st at 6 p.m., Qigong will be presented. The special class will be at the library. This class is designed to help you boost your energy, restore your health, and align your body, mind, and spirit with the cycles of nature and the universe. That is my report from the library.
Thank you. Youth advisory?
Summer camp planning as well. Counselors are getting hired and spots are starting to get rented. I've heard that North Greenwich may not have camp this year because of construction at the beach. So if you're a resident, then I would get your stuff in before you decide if they're having or not. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that brings us to action items. We have the EAF resolution. Wayne, can you help us through this?
Yep. You make me walk all the way over there. Okay, I went through the full environmental assessment form for the dock shelter project. There were a couple of items that were flagged through the EAF mapper. One was surface water features. There is a pond there. There is federal jurisdiction and wetlands on the site. It didn't indicate any impaired water bodies. There's no DEC remediation sites within 2,000 feet of the site. And based on the answers that we came up with in the part 1 of the form, an assessment form, I took the liberty of filling out the part 2, which you have before you. For the board's information, the part 2 is where you take and identify any potential project impacts that may occur on the project. I can go through each item if you want, or just the ones that you tagged as having some impact.
Just the ones that
Your prerogative.
There's a copy of this available at the town hall if anybody wants it, but
Okay, based on the answers in part 1, I went through the part 2 and the items that were identified as having some potential impact. The first one is on page 3. Item number 4, impact on groundwater. Proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. We mark that as yes. For the following reasons, proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater. That means septic system. And there will be water use at the site. There is a well and septic on the site right now. We checked that off as having no or very small impact. There is an existing facility in the building that was used before when it was used by county waste. They're not using that building now, but there is an existing well.
And there's still in the bathroom.
There's a bathroom, right. So I marked yes because the potential is there. I marked that it's very small impact. Basically the use of the well and the septic system. On page 5, item number 8, impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources. Going through the seeker workbook, and as identified in part 1, that it is in an ag district. Either not. However, there's no active agricultural fields adjacent around property, so mark that as no impact. Everybody understand that? Turning to page 8, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. We'll check that as yes. There will be lighting on the site. There'll be lighting on the building for security and safety reasons. There's not going to be any high mass lighting or light poles that will shine light off the property. So I figured that a small impact. The bigger potential issue is the noise. With 8 dogs, I believe is what the capacity of that's going to be, 8 or 10. Dog barking is going to create a noise above ambient levels, especially inside the building. Has a small impact, adequately mitigated. Odors, I don't think it's going to increase any odors. All the activities inside and will be maintained. So. I think that's it on part 2. I think those were all the items that we checked yes, if there could be some potential. Any questions on that?
I have some questions. I'm confused as to why do we have to, can you remind me why we have part 1 and 2 on this?
Typically, when you have an action that to go through the secret process, the applicant fills out the part 1. Right. In this case, the town is the applicant, or the sponsor. Right. So you go through part 1, see if anything comes up in part 1 that could have potentially some environmental impact. Part 2 is always done by the reviewing agency, lead agency. That takes the information that's in the part 1, narrows it down to those items that there could be some potential impact. And I took the liberty of doing it for the town as the town's engineer to throw this out for the board to get some feedback and some concerns on that.
So that's why this is unique, because we're the town who's the part one, and then we're the reviewer who's the part two.
Correct.
And then the town board will be part three. Is that the
Yes.
part we go through and, right?
That's correct.
Right, so that's fine. I had a couple of questions, and you actually hit on a couple of these already. So, now that I understand that better, in part one, under D, project details, question C is stated, it's on page 3 of 13. It says, is the proposed action an expansion of an existing project or use? We wrote no.
Correct.
But isn't that yes? Because today that land is property to be a transfer station. And it's not an expansion or extension. Is it a new use?
Well, we're using an existing building. We're not building anything. We're not doing any construction on the site other than some interior work.
Right.
That's why I marked it as no expansion. We're not adding under the building. We're not adding buildings to the site as an expansion of the use of that property.
I guess the way I read it is the proposed action an expansion of the existing project or use? And I say it is, because it's a different use. That's the way I read it.
Right, if I could, it is clearly a different use. This question on the project details about an expansion, I think Wayne, I concur with Wayne, it's really talking about physical expansion. And so underneath, the sub-question deals with additional acreage, housing units, percentage of physical expansion, really designed to address physical activity on the site. Certainly a change of use is a type of change on the property, but this question I concur with Wayne, we're really talking about physical plan expansion.
I hear what you're saying. It says or use, but that's okay. We can agree with this. On the next page, G is on page 14 and 13 is, does the proposed action include new non-residential construction, including expansions? We've already established it's not going to be expansion, but there will be construction on that space inside that building, right?
Right, and again, if you go down, if you say yes, then you have to identify the number of structures. You're not building any structures, you're not expanding any structures. We're looking for the dimensions of this, if it's if it's a considerable size building.
Are you saying on the way I read, maybe I'm thinking, I see where it's like construction building. Well, obviously, there's no construction building. There's going to be some work inside the building, no doubt, right? Is that included in this?
I think it is what is proposed is in the nature of tenant fit, interior, non-structural improvements, not any structural amendment or expansion of existing structures.
If the building wasn't big enough and the town had to add on to it, you're right, then I would deem that new non-residential construction, including expansion.
Oh, because it's in the existing
It's in the existing
footprint.
footprint.
Right. Okay. On page 8, I have, you already answered this, by the way, so it's, will the action have outdoor lighting? I can't remember if it has it to this day, today,
There are lights out there.
but on that building, and you wrote there's gonna be lighting on there, and this other part too.
Right.
Yeah, so that's fine, that answers that question.
Yeah, you can't, because of the nature of the facility, you gotta have lighting and stuff for the building for access and security.
And it says, on R on page 8, it says, will the proposed action, and then in parentheses, commercial or industrial projects only, involve or require the maintenance and disposal of solid waste? You kind of addressed that in part 2, I guess, the way I'm just wondering about, we are going to produce waste.
Right.
So I think you got that in that part 2. We just marked it as, it was unmarked.
Well, I guess there is some definition of commercial industrial use.
I think I can highlight that a little bit on that piece of property. When a septic system was put in there, when Garstang's put that septic system in, it was dry well only, made out of concrete blocks. It was a shale knoll, and they pushed that shale knoll, made a flat area with the shale knoll, so it's all clay and it's all shale there. That septic system was not really a septic system. It didn't have to meet the standards, there was no standards then. There was only one employee there, and, well, there was two employees.
I think that's worth investigation.
Did they do any study on the fuel tanks that were left out in the front of the building?
There's the one.
Guys,
Well, actually, nothing showed up on underground storage tanks or DEC.
Storage tanks were out in front, there was two of them. They pumped gas there. Exxon.
The other thing that was, I don't understand, when you're talking about construction of the building, was brought to my attention that at one point they were talking about putting outside runs in for the animals. Has that anything been done with that, or is that eliminated?
The intention is to have this inside the facility only. There's 3 bays in that, 3 garage bays. The furthest bays were turned into 2 separate rooms. The center 2 bays are open. That would be the indoor dog run.
The other
And
question.
that has storage drains as well.
The other questions that I have.
Can we get through this?
Can we finish this and then we can go to public comment?
Oh, sure.
On page 10G, it says, have hazardous waste then generated, treated, and or disposed of at the site, or does the project site adjoin property which is now or was at one time used for commercially treat, store, and or dispose of hazardous waste?
It is
The
a transfer station.
Right, but we said no, but in here it says it didn't generate, it didn't treat, dispose of, right, transfer, didn't commercially treat. It's store.
I wouldn't even consider garbage to be hazardous waste.
That's
For that site to handle hazardous.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
But on that page 10, letter F addresses solid waste, and G is addressing hazardous waste. And H is potential contamination history. Certainly, the site has been used for handling and transfer of solid waste, as defined by DEC's regs. They're regulated by the department for that.
That actually gets checked off as you go through
in a time used as, right, it's not a waste management facility, it's a waste transfer.
It's not a disposal facility, it's a transfer facility. It's still regulated under DEC's regs for solid waste. Technically, it's a transfer station permitted facility.
And then I think my last question is, H on page 10, potential contamination history. Has there been a reported spill at the proposed project site, or have any remedial actions been conducted at or adjacent to the proposed site? We said no. There's certainly, I'm not going to get into whether there's been reported spills or not. And I guess the key term here is, I mean, clearly there's contamination in that whole area with PFOs. I guess what they're saying is, have any remedial actions been conducted? And I guess the answer to that would be no. Am I reading that right?
You're reading that correct. And that actually is all by the deeds as you go through the form, and autofills a lot of these only. And that autofill as a no. There's no listed spill incidents or.
Appreciate it. Just want to make sure I do that. Can you give me a second, Paul, too? only because I didn't see part two. When you were going through it, I did have a question.
Well, if it comes to mind,
Yeah, go
go ahead. Mr. Bailey.
I think I went through all the items. At this point, we go to part three, which is the evaluation of the magnitude and importance of the project impacts and then determination of the significance. I took the liberty for the board to fill this part out. I do list the seeker status as unlisted. I did check on the second page, at the top of the page, I checked off this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore environmental impact statement need not be prepared accordingly. This negative declaration is issued. I did do a memo, which I failed to make a copy of before I came here. If you want me to go through the items of the memo that I sent and support for the part three. The memo indicates that I reviewed the seeker documentation for this project. The memo serves to clarify some of the items on the seeker full environmental assessment form 2, identification of potential project impacts. Item number wastewater discharge, I think I talked about this, discharge to groundwater. There's no public sewer available at the site. Sanitary waste goes to an on-site septic system. There will be no chemical solvents discharged to the septic systems and no impact to groundwater. Number 2, page 5, item 8 of the part 2, impact on ag resources. The proposed action may impact ag resources. The proposed action is located in an agricultural district. However, there are no agricultural fields on adjacent to the project site. Previously too. Lastly, item number 3 on page 8, item 15. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in increase in noise, odors, and light. The project includes the use of an existing 2,400 plus or minus square foot building. Noise from barking dogs may be an issue. It will be mitigated by installation of sound attenuation features installed inside the building. These features may include sound attenuating acoustic wall panels or sound absorbing baffles or kind of hang from the ceiling. You see them in large spaces. It reduces the echo and the vibration. There will be an increase in light to assure proper safety and security for personnel that access the building after dark. However, downward lighting on the building will be installed will not mitigate beyond the property line. So based on that, we came to the determination that this is an unlisted action and accordingly the negative declaration could be issued.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Maybe a procedural question. So did you say that you had gone through the part 3?
Yes.
Is that something?
Well, I filled it out for the board.
Right, that's something we normally do together.
That's correct. Okay. If you're okay with it, you can use it. If not, you can make changes.
Well, anyone else on the board? That would bring us to the resolution portion.
Correct. So the first resolution that's before you is a resolution to adopt a secret negative declaration regarding the proposed lease agreement for premises located at 9002 NY Route 66 for purposes of establishing and maintaining a shelter for dogs. Again, that's based on a review of parts 1, 2, and 3 that Wayne reviewed with you. I do concur this is appropriately classified as an unlisted action. You've had an opportunity to review and consider the EAF and what this resolution would do is to formally adopt a negative declaration. Again, a negative declaration indicates that the board's determination is there is not potential for significant adverse environmental impacts. One of the issues under seeker is that there certainly can be impacts. It can be no impacts or small impacts. It's not a determination that there will be zero impacts. The touchstone under seeker is, does the board determine there is the potential for significant environmental impacts, adverse environmental impacts? The answer is yes. You require a positive declaration in the preparation of a full environmental impact statement. The answer is no, and a negative declaration is considered and adopted. What's in front of you now? Is review of the EAF is proposed negative declaration for your consideration.
What number is this resolution?
17.
Eric, do you want to read the whole thing, or do you just want to read the last?
Sorry, let me pull it up. And this is just, again, is on the negative declaration.
This is just a seeker determination.
You got that? Harold read it, I'm not sure.
You don't do not read the whole thing. We can do the last two if you want.
Okay.
The last whereas, the last, out there, it was on.
Sorry, so what did you say? No, no.
17.
17. Resolution 17, 2023, the resolution adopting a negative declaration concern to seeker regarding lease agreement for the, I'm reading the wrong one. This is the lease agreement.
This is.
Is it right?
Yeah. So again, for the board, leasing a municipal lease of property is what triggers the seeker review here. So when we do lease property, that's identified in the seeker regs as a seekerable action. And so technically, this is adopting that to lease the property for use as a dog shelter.
Gotcha. Resolution adopting a negative declaration pursuant to seeker regarding the lease agreement for premises located at 9002 New York Route 66 for purposes of establishing and maintaining a shelter for dogs.
We'll just do the best, it's fine.
Now, let it therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Postville in a regular session duly convened as follows: the town board of the town of Postville hereby determines that the lease of the premises located at 9002 New York Route 66 for the purpose of establishing and maintaining a shelter for dogs is described herein shall not have any significant adverse environmental impacts, and therefore adopts a negative declaration pursuant to seeker.
Sue, we want to,
Well, that will need to be offered in second.
I'll make the motion.
wait a second. I'll second. Sue?
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilman Van Slyke?
Yes.
Councilman Wallaber?
Yes.
Supervisor Hammond?
Yes. So moved. Thank you.
Are we gonna allow any public comment on just that, these people just approve that?
Well, I have a public comment period at the end of our meeting, and you can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about, but I'd like to move on with our agenda. And go back.
Resolution authorizing lease agreement for premises located at 9002 Route 66 for purposes of establishing and maintaining a shelter for dogs. Whereas New York Agriculture and Market Law, Article 7, land-based page 10, and New York shall establish and maintain a shelter for dogs. Can we keep going for the whole thing, or now therefore be resolved?
Well, I think if you allow me to summarize.
Okay.
Okay. So what the resolution in the recital clause is basically identifies is there is a requirement of the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law for municipalities either to maintain a shelter for dogs or to contract with a existing incorporated not-for-profit or humane society for the shelter of dogs. This is a requirement under state law. The resolution recites that historically the town has contracted with the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society. They did not offer a contract for the current calendar year. This places the legal obligation on the town to comply with the mandate under the Ag and Markets Law for maintenance of a dog shelter. There is a requirement for your animal control officer to address any stray or unlicensed dogs. And this would be the facility in which those are housed until either, what's the right term? Either they're
Reunited with their owner.
I'll use that term. It's not reunited, but that's the going concept. Their owner comes and redeems them. Thank you. That's the right term. Their redemption period, or then they're offered up for adoption. This is the proposed facility to address that, as the town is not on the facility that it deems appropriate to contract with. So let me go, and then you can certainly discuss this. So that outlines the reason for the proposed dog shelter at that location. There are certain findings that are listed in this resolution. If you can, I will read these for the record. The town of Poston Hill is a town subject to Article 7 of the New York State Agricultural Markets Law, and is therefore a town required to establish and maintain a pound or shelter for dogs, or in lieu thereof, shelter services with any other municipality or humane society or similarly incorporated dog protective association. Contracted with the Mohawk Hudson Humane Society for such pound or shelter services to comply with its statutory obligations under Article 7 of the New York Agriculture and Markets Law. 3. The Mohawk Hudson Humane Society has notified the town of Poston Hill that it will no longer contract with the town of Poston Hill pound, or the town of Poston Hill has not identified any other incorporated humane society or similar incorporated dog protective association to provide for pound or shelter services to meet its statutory obligation under Article 7 of the New York Agriculture and Markets Law. 5. Leasing property located at 9002 NY 66 April Park and establishing and maintaining a shelter for dogs thereat will fulfill a governmental duty and legal obligation imposed upon the town of Poston Hill under Article 7 of the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law as a municipality in the state of New York. 6. The proposed location for the establishment and maintenance of a shelter for dogs is suitable for such purpose, and an existing structure will be utilized for shelter operations with interior modifications to meet the requirements imposed by the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. 7. The operation of a municipal shelter for dogs at this proposed location will fulfill the statutory obligation as a municipal government as required under Article 7 of the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law. And 8. The establishment and operation of a municipal dog shelter for dogs at the proposed location will advance the purpose of Article 7 of the New York State Agriculture and Markets Law as set forth in Section 106 thereof. It goes on to indicate you consider the potential significant adverse environmental impacts. The negative declaration has been adopted, and that a proposed lease for that facility, which is attached to the resolution, is what would be authorized to enter into the lease and to use the premises for the operation and maintenance of a dog shelter. Importantly, this type of municipal action, the lease of property for a municipal purpose, is subject under the New York Town Law to a permissive referendum. The resolution does indicate that it is subject to a permissive referendum in the event that there is the requisite number of petitions filed, and this would be a town-wide issue. Then a referendum town-wide would be held. If the requisite number of petitions within the 50-day referendum period are not filed, this action will become final binding, and the town will be authorized to enter into the lease and operate the facility as a dog shelter. As I said, the lease is attached, and you get a chance to review that. And that has been also reviewed by the proposed landlord.
I have a couple of quick questions. So a year ago, if a dog went to Bob would hang on to him for a little while. And if we couldn't find his owner, we would send it to the Mohawk Humane Society, and then the owner would have to pay whatever.
Well, we get to pay.
Right, and if they didn't pay, we would have to pay.
We pay and you get to pay us.
But the point is that if the resident didn't pay, we would be off. So then we're not doing this anymore. in this short amount of time in the intermediate, who have we sent our dogs to if we couldn't find their home?
Agway in Brunswick, which is not, I want to be careful, yes, it's not a law, let's put it that way.
But then with this legislation, we will still do the same thing, which is if a dog is picked up in Poston Hill, we'll send them to here, and then if they're not picked up, we'll send them that way.
No, they stay here, and if they're not picked up, then it goes up for adoption.
And then we have to send them somewhere else.
Yes.
Do we know where we're sending them yet?
There's several places that will take dogs for adoption.
Do they take them for free?
No.
So are we still gonna use Bob's facility that we helped him pay, we paid him and helped him build on his property? Or are we not gonna use that anymore?
We probably won't use that anymore. It's not up to current state standards. Right now, the state knows that all the towns in Webster County are in trouble. So they're not really coming down on anyone because we just don't really have an answer. So that's where we're at.
And I appreciate that the genesis for this is in a well-meaning place. I think we're trying to do the right thing. So I don't want to be dismissive of that. But the reality is, this is going to be, we're taking on a new responsibility, and it's going to end up costing the taxpayers money. And our business plan as it is today is to try to break even, and that's just not going to work. It's going to cost the taxpayers money. We don't get any benefit from doing it, and that's why I'm going to vote against this. I voted for the previous one because I don't think it has a significant negative impact. I just think it's a bad idea. I'm going to vote against it. I just want to share my thoughts ahead of time.
Well, it's my intention not to lose money. And there's a potential to actually make money, but that's not the purpose of it. Again, we are mandated by law to do something, so whether it costs us money here or it costs us money somewhere else, it's going to cost the town something to deal with these dogs. It always has, so it's always going to be an expense.
I agree with you 100%, but we're taking on other dogs from other towns.
And charging.
Right, right. In that charging, the business plan isn't good enough for us to actually make money. We're going to lose money.
Why not?
Because of what we're charging and the fact that we don't have a plan at this moment to have paid employees. We're going to have paid employees eventually. And that's why this is
No, you need
the money.
All right, I'm sorry.
We're not done with the resolution.
Go ahead.
We'll finish reading the resolution and then we can have a discussion.
I thought that's what we were doing.
No, and then we can. Have a
Oh, sorry, go ahead. We'll bring it back up. I didn't mean to jump the gun. I thought he was talking.
My bad. Go ahead, Jim.
Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of town of Pleasantville, regular session convened as follows. Recital clauses as set forth are expressly incorporated herein as substantive provisions of this resolution. Two, the town board of the town of Pleasantville hereby approves the lease of premises located at 9,002 near Route 66 Area Park for the purpose of establishment and maintenance of a municipal shelter for dogs on the terms and conditions set forth in Schedule A attached here to and made a part hereof, and hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute such lease on behalf of the town of Pleasantville to undertake all further actions necessary for the implementation of the purpose and intent of this resolution. Three, this resolution shall be subject to permissive referendum in the manner provided by law, and as such will not take effect until after the referendum is held. If the petitioner petitions imposing the above stated lease of premises is or are filed with the town clerk within 30 days of the date that this resolution is adopted, or at the time following such petition or petitions has expired, if an insufficient number of petitions are filed within the county hearing. Within 10 days of the date of this resolution, the town clerks shall post and publish a notice that shall set forth the date of the adoption of the resolution, shall contain an abstract of such resolution, precisely setting forth the purpose and effect thereof, and shall specify that this resolution was adopted subject to a list of referendum. Resolution offered by myself.
I'll second it.
I think maybe too, it might be helpful if we stated that the charge is only $10 a month for the police.
Yeah, the cost to the town in the lease agreement is $10 a month to waste management, which is Bob Rhodes says on the deal.
Well,
I still have a discussion, I'll let everybody else try.
No, go ahead.
So no, I mean, we're not solving anything, we're just continuing what we have right now. We're taking on other towns' responsibilities, and this is gonna be a money loser. It has to be, and it will be. And I think our heart's in the right spot, but it's a bad idea for taxpayers, because they're gonna have to pay for this for other people's dollars.
My feeling is, if it appears that we're losing money, it's not our intent to lose money. You may, and what else do we do? That's the ultimate question. What else do you do? I don't particularly like doing something like this, but we have people willing to donate, and just perhaps keep in mind is at least I would insist on trying to come out of it even.
Well,
I thought you were gonna have public comment.
at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, but you have to do it before you.
No, this is during the,
No, you said that you would have.
I will have a public comment period at the end of our meeting. This is,
You have to have it before you vote. You pushed everybody off and said that you would allow them to talk before you vote.
what's the thing? What do you want to do? All right, but please, let's not make it all right. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna make a moment. So how many people need to petition for if they disagree with this decision?
I don't know, have that number.
It's 5% it's somewhat complicated. 5% of the total number available in the last election. It's a calculation that Sue will have that at the town clerk's office.
Do you have like a ballot number?
I do not, but that's what the law says. It's 5% of the total electors available in the last state election. So there'll be a calculation made as the total number needed.
Okay. And has there been any like cost put together for building, or what's gonna cost to run it eventually, for having actual people?
Yep.
And that is, like, you've actually had people look at the building, is that building is in
We've done all that.
some very serious.
We have that. We've done that.
Like new roof,
No,
foundation.
no, we've had it inspected.
There's this huge crack running down. the
I
side.
hear you. I don't want to debate you on this, but we've had our building inspector go through for a list of what needs to be done. The cost comes to about $10,000.
There's no way.
Okay, well,
So.
I'm not gonna, this is not what I wanted. I don't want to
For
debate.
example, the library, when they needed a roof, you had contractors come in, multiple contractors, and do that.
Okay,
It
roof
wasn't a
doesn't,
roundabout.
yeah, it doesn't need a roof. It has a roof
$10,000.
on it. It doesn't need a roof. I look at,
It needs a serious roof repair.
no, it
There is
doesn't.
a huge hole in the roof.
No, there isn't.
There is.
There is.
Okay, listen, I don't want to debate. We've had it looked at. We've had an engineer go through it. We've had our building inspector go through it.
You've
And
not had anybody.
okay, you've made your comment.
Can I have a,
Yeah.
you know, going along with Mr. Wald over there, and the town attorney being here, I'd like a determination, what's the difference between an animal control officer and a dog warden?
Excuse me?
What's the difference between an animal control officer and a dog warden?
A dog warden, strictly dogs. Animal control is rabbits, cats, horses.
Okay, but the dog control officer in his normal duties has the potential of picking up a rabid dog. Okay, in that facility, that will spread like wildfire, or a kennel cough will spread like wildfire. Now the other thing with it is, in the past, the animal control officer, and I'm just gonna use that phrase, has to have peace officer status. Does our dog control officer have peace officer status? And the other thing is the animal has to be contained in a vehicle that's utilized for safe transportation. And when the animal gets to the facility, it has to be put in an enclosed area. So when it's transported from the outside of the vehicle, inside the building, there will be no escape. Has anybody looked into that?
We've had Ag and Markets out. They put a list.
I'm talking about the town. I'm not talking about Ag and Markets. I'm talking about financial problems. And the other thing is, has this town went with a vet facility to contract to have these animals evaluated?
Yep.
What's the facility?
Miller Animal.
And how much is that?
To be paid for by whoever owns the dog.
If we,
It's gonna be the same as it is now, just our own building. I mean,
I'm
you're asking me,
I'm
all these things
concerned.
that we've been doing for the last 10 years.
I'm not saying you're doing it right.
Okay, but. this
Okay,
building-
you're gonna dictate a certain facility in the town of Oceankill that's gonna be open to other agencies and other towns to come in. So therefore, the influx is gonna be more. You don't have any outside containment or any way to control that animal until you get them inside the building.
Well,
Yet you just said on your report, there will be no outside buildings, no outside containment.
there isn't. There's a
Town
quarantine.
is open to a liability here.
Okay, we can hash these things out forever.
No, I'm just telling you, Keith, I'm just telling you that I don't think that anybody has really, when they talk about concerns, they really haven't concerned about the impact. And the other thing is I understand we have a dog control officer, has he been properly trained by Ag and Markets?
Yes. He's been doing this for a long time and it doesn't just.
No, not a long time.
Okay,
He's got a
that's, you know what?
certification.
Call him up and ask him. These are not things that I have answers to.
Lee Kang, 317 Snake Hill, thank you for helping to open up the public comment section. And I would like to say that I'm approaching this from a very neutral perspective, taking into consideration that there is a need for someone, a town, an entity of some sort to take on this responsibility. I have taken the liberty to check with various other veterinarians and dog kennels in the Rensselaer County area, and realizing the stipulations, et cetera, that our town attorney has pointed out, no one is really interested in stepping up to the plate on this. So we have a conundrum. And it needs to be solved. So we're going through this process, and in the due course of that, we have witnessed this evening that the Secor review was thoroughly examined. I think it would be in our best interest to take into consideration that Mr. Doerr's right eyewitness to the construction circumstances to the wastewater disposal at the facility. With that having been brought to the attention of the board and our town engineer, public as well, I believe that our town engineer wisely commented that that is something to be looked into. Now, I don't know if that's a verbatim, but I believe that our town engineer did say something to that specific extent. And if it is, then the question is begged, how is it that the Secor review can be declared having a negative impact according to that, without there having been preceding a look into the wastewater disposal? So that is a question. I think that the board needs to discuss that. I think the public is entitled to having further consideration given to that. And I understand and I appreciate that what you're trying to do here is something which is of urgency. And I actually feel that the town of Oceankill should be commended for stepping up and doing something about this much needing to be addressed problem. I also would like to give some consideration towards Councilman Wahlberg's perspective that there is a financial facet to this which needs to be looked into as well. And let's take into consideration that Councilman Van Slyke has, I think, wisely said that the rates are probably going to have to be increased above what is currently being proposed. So those are my concerns, and thank you for this time.
Anyone else? Okay. Accept a roll call. We have a motion.
We have the motion.
You made the motion, seconded.
Okay, so
Okay. Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Haas?
Yes.
Councilman Van Slyke?
Yes.
Councilman Wallaber?
No.
Supervisor Hammond?
yes. So thank you. We have on here a speed limit study for Quail Meadows on Clarkson and Red Wing. I didn't propose that study. Not sure who that is. Does anyone want to speak to that?
I think your sound highway superintendent.
When those, two developments dedicated by the town, there was no speed limit study done, so therefore there's no posted speed limit on any of those roads currently. So New York State law would say that it's 55 at this time. If you pass that resolution tonight, it would be 30 until you hear back from New York State DOT on what they would dictate the speed be. But currently, we have no posted speed limit on any of those roads.
Question, if we pass this, would we be able to put up signs? Can we do that legally?
If I can cut in.
You don't,
My counsel would be no until you hear from DOT. Under state law, only DOT has the ability to set the speed limit on this, on the campus.
So we still have to wait for that.
That's correct. Yeah, but this will start the process of DOT reviewing those roads, and I think hopefully make a determination this season so that they can work.
And then we actually pay to put the signs up.
That's correct.
Right, okay. Anyone else? Is it a resolution?
Yeah. Resolution what, 19?
Yes.
You don't have to do all the date.
Neither of them are at the beginning, and then the, not there, now the resolution requesting New York State Department of Transportation to establish a lower speed limit on Quail Meadows Road, Fox Hen Drive, Red Wing Court, and Lockview Drive in the town of Pleasantville. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of town of Pleasantville, regular session being convened as follows. One, the town board of town of Pleasantville requests NYSDOT to conduct all necessary required evaluation of speed limit on Quail Meadows Road, Fox Hen Drive, Red Wing Court, and Lockview Drive, and establish the maximum speed limit for the entire length of such town roads of 30 miles an hour. Two, the town board of town of Pleasantville urges Rensselaer County to join in the request that NYSDOT conduct all necessary required evaluation of Quail Meadows Road, Fox Hen Drive, Red Wing Court, and Lockview Drive, with the recommendation that the speed limit on such town roads be established at 50 miles an hour. Three, certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted to the Rensselaer County Highway Department, New York State Department of Transportation. Foregoing resolution, I offer and
Awesome motion. All in favor? Is this necessary for a roll call?
That's correct.
So will you do a roll call?
Councilman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilman Van Slyke?
Yes.
Councilman Wallaber?
Yes.
Supervisor Hammond?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to our next resolution on surplus equipment. DJ, you want to bring it right to speed on what we're doing here?
Sure. So we have our bucket truck that we bought a new one for here back in a couple months ago. on the auction, an old roller, our chipper that was replaced a couple years ago, 2 small trailers, which we bought a new equipment trailer, so we're utilizing one for multiple pieces of equipment, and then an old sander for one of our pickups, all up for auction, so hopefully bring in some revenue to the town.
Any questions?
You got it?
What number is this?
20.
Resolution number 20, 2023. Town council convening the 11th resolution declaring vehicles and equipment as surplus, whereas the county highway department has recommended that certain vehicles is Exhibit A, surplus as having exceeded its use. And whereas the town board is declaring such vehicles equipment listed in Exhibit A to be surplus and to be sold or auctioned in accordance with the law. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town board of the town of Rosekill in regular session duly convened as follows. The town of Rosekill hereby declares the vehicles and equipment described in Exhibit A attached hereto to be surplus and to be sold and or auctioned in accordance with the law. The foregoing resolution offered by Alfred Sutton.
Yep.
And seconded by
Eric.
Eric. So really put to the roll call vote as follows.
Councilwoman Butler?
Yes.
Councilman Haas?
Yes.
Councilman Van Slyke?
Yes.
Councilman Walliver?
Yes.
Supervisor Hammond?
Yes. That's for our action items tonight. Supervisor Ford, I met with Brunswick. We have a contract that's being worked on currently for water usage and water transportation from Detroit to Brunswick to Postingtown. They're updating their system. The agreement says that we split the cost of the updates, be approximately $25,000. When I did the contract in this final form, our attorney will look it over and I'll present it, and I have a little bar. Pretty busy month, honestly, but that's my report. Town attorney?
Very briefly, aside from routine matters, we did work on finalizing the proposed lease for the dog shelter. We worked with the highway department on the surplus items as well as the speed limit issue, and worked toward getting equipment purchased, but didn't make it in terms of time. Worked with the building department on issues including an issue regarding access off of a private roadway, and I worked with Tracy on that. And continue to work on water district issues for this evening as well. That was it.
Thank you. We have the town clerk's monthly report.
During the month of April, the town clerk took in $23,373.46. Of that amount, $23,026.07 was turned over to the supervisor.
Make a motion to accept it.
Seconded.
All in favor? All right. We have the assessor's report. We also have our water manager's report and our building inspector's report, our patrol officer's report. And is there anything you'd like to add to your report? No. Okay, well, that brings us to the payment of the bills.
I move that we pay the town bills of $51,952.81.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I move that we pay the water bills of $620.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak before we close the meeting? Yes.
I believe I heard at the beginning of the meeting that there was going to be another public hearing on water district number 2 on the 18th.
We haven't closed it.
No, the 18th.
The state's during the meeting that Algonquin School from 5 to, was it 9? On the 18th. NCON, DEC, the county health department, they're all gonna have booths there. So people can go talk to them about their report. They came out with their final report on POFAs, and this is their update meeting.
So it's related to District Number 2, but it's not specific about District Number 2.
It's specific to the.
It's not related to Water District 2. It's not anything associated with procedure for the Water District. This is the state and county, as I understand it, holding what they're calling their availability session to be available to the public regarding the state's site assessment that was undertaken and recently completed.
And that's going to be at Algonquin School from what hours? did you
5
say?
o'clock to 9.
Pardon me?
I think it's 5 to 8.
A week from tonight. A week from today.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
It's open with booths, that you'll be able to go around.
They had one once before. This is their one for after they finished their study.
Thank you.
Susan?
I just had a question regarding none of this. It has to do with the website. Where is the progress with the website? There's been a lot of discussion tonight, and there's been so much paper and discussion about you can go to town hall and pick things up. It would be so nice. It was right there on the website, and there's an answer here.
No, I keep forgetting to update the board, so it's totally my fault. We have a signed contract with Tiffany and I have wants and needs of all the departments. Have a meeting with the website developer to start the transition to a new website. So Tiffany gave me her thoughts probably about a week ago. I haven't looked at it yet. And then we're gonna set up a meeting to talk and start the conversion. I'll tell you right now, our plan is, and I haven't put this out yet just because I haven't been around to it, but the theory of what we're going on is, we want the website to reflect the town. The best way we thought to reflect the town is to show the town. So we're going to ask folks to provide photos, visual photos. It's going to come up soon to kind of let folks know that we are getting a new website. It's going to be hopefully much more user-friendly, and that process is, the ball is in motion.
And the goal will also be to include all of these references to see things at town hall, but now we can see it on. the
They're all
website.
on the website already as well.
A lot of those are already on, but this is our chance to make those updates.
Yes.
Regarding, initially, I was under the impression that the town of Sand Lake was going to be involved in putting together this dog.
They pointed $5,000 to it, yeah.
Are they still in? I sound
Yes.
like this is all Poston building.
It's, the environmental reviews and all that, because the building's in Poston Hill, it has to be done by Poston Hill.
So you will be taking dogs from Sand Lake
Yes.
and yourself?
And whoever contracts with us.
Oh, okay. I guess I was thinking of Poston Hill and maybe Sand Lake is one thing, but then we talk about
No,
contracts.
Sand Lake's volunteered funding to help get it up and running. But the county's said that they would reimburse any expenses Sand Lake and Poston Hill have. So ultimately, it would be the county's expense.
Is that how it is?
Well, it's gonna be whatever the amount is to fix it up, but it's what it is, what it is. But we've had our engineer look at it, like I said, we've had our building inspector, put a list together of what needs to be done. We've met with Ag and Markets. We have volunteers, we've had $2,000 donated so far.
Volunteers for staffing?
Well, the building itself has to be managed by somebody employed by the town. Whether it's a $2 a month stipend or $1 a year, they have to be an employee of the town. The work that's feeding the dogs, seeing the dogs would be volunteers. And quite frankly, I don't think we're gonna have a problem from the number of people who called. Our phone rings just about every other day with somebody that wants to help in some way. And we could have people in this town that are retired that love the opportunity to do it. So I think if everybody pitches together, it can work. I mean, yeah, there's negatives, there's always gonna be negatives. I think it can work. I work hard to make it work. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yes, question, okay. I see that, I realize that there's no posted speed limits on the streets that you discussed and sent to the town. I'm saying to the state. What about Main Street, what about this end of Sanders Corners, which we're talking about?
We've done that.
What's the results?
As the last study for Weatherwax,
No, I'm not talking.
I'll tell you that this is a recurring theme. We apply, we don't hear back, and when we dig into it, they've either lost it, or they don't know where it is, or they haven't done anything with it. And that's just about everything we put forward so far. You do realize it has to go to the county first, right? And then it goes to the state. It's not our call.
Not the state speed limits. You could have a study done on the main drag that doesn't have to go to the county, that can go directly to DOT.
It's not our call. We're not a big enough town to set our own speed limits.
Oh, I know that, that's what the state, it requires, some of the backside to get it done. It's spring, it's summer, have you walked Main Street at all lately?
Yep. Is this a debate? Or what are we
No,
doing?
it's not a debate, Keith. It's something that has to be addressed at some point in time. People don't pay a damn bit of attention to the 40 miles an hour on Main Street, on the top and the center corners between the corner, between 51 and the school area.
All we can do as a board is send the letters and ask. Unless we put up speed limit signs that we're not allowed to put up. What else do you want us to do? We're doing everything you've asked. You've asked us this probably.
Right,
But we do it. But we're doing it. We're not ignoring it. All I can tell you is we're trying. I don't know what to tell you.
Thank you for looking forward.
Anyone else? No? All right. Then I call the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? On favor? We have a need for an executive session. There's a few things that have come up that I need to talk to the board about.
So a motion to go into executive session.
Thank you.
I'll make it.
Okay.
Carol said.